Hello and welcome to the G3 Pulse podcast. Joining me today is Nick McDonald, Account Director at Fujitsu. Nick, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me here, Will. It's really good.
So before we dive into kind of the nitty gritty of IT setups, harnessing data, hybrid cloud infrastructure and so on, the things that you'll know far more about than myself, let's begin with some background about Fujitsu's role in the gaming industry. How long has Fujitsu been working in the iGaming space?
So we've been working in the iGaming space for roughly about 7 years. We've been working with some of the leading providers in this space across multiple territories. Predominantly very reactive, so it's kind of got the customers on board, worked with them for a number of years and continue to do that. However, I would say in the last 12, 18 months now, we've actively started to promote our space, or promote ourselves in this space. So you'll probably see us a lot more at events and doing marketing and talking to people and doing these sort of things just to get our name out there a bit more. But we've got lots of experience in this particular vertical.
And to put it bluntly, why should someone in iGaming work with Fujitsu when it comes to IT-related solutions compared to other providers that are out there? What is Fujitsu's mission statement within iGaming?
So there's a number of factors to it. So basically, Fujitsu at its heart, we are a technology company. iGaming relies on a lot of technology in one format or another. At a high level, we operate in probably over 180 countries globally. We hold more AI patents than any other company in the world. It just sort of backs up again, going back to that technology company. We've built the world's fastest supercomputer. Some of our products hold many world records for performance on certain software platforms. And we're currently using quantum-inspired computing techniques to slash drug discovery times from 15 months down to 7 weeks. I suppose, how's that all relevant to iGaming? But if we bring it down to a level of iGaming and the technology solutions that a lot of the providers are using today, what we're getting at here and why someone should work with Fujitsu is a lot of this technology that we're doing, a lot of this great stuff with, as it were, is what we use to sell into the iGaming space today. And it gives customers the flexibility to help them build infrastructure in a way, using some of these well-performing systems, and giving them access to some of the best people and technology that's available today.
Fujitsu is a massive company, isn't it?
We are, yeah.
Enormous. Yeah. What kind of scale are we talking? I mean, I was looking above me in the office in there, and I see there's an air conditioning unit with Fujitsu's logo on it. So, just tell me, just how big is the company?
So in the UK, we're about 7,000 people.
Okay.
That's just in the UK. I'd have to go and check what the numbers is of people in terms of globally. But yeah. We are a huge organisation, and it's quite interesting and that's why we're doing more of this sort of stuff, is exactly what you've highlighted there. Was normally we say to people, what do Fujitsu do? Do they make air conditioning units and cameras? We do, but we don't do cameras. We do air conditioning units, but this part of the business that we're in is the data center and the technology part.
So going back to the technology part, what are the pitfalls to harnessing the power of your own data in today's iGaming technology landscape, would you say? Or are there any?
There are. There's a number of pitfalls, but there's also some benefits that you can get from it. So I suppose the big one at the moment around harnessing data is the security of that data. And whether that's regulatory compliance or probably the more relevant and growing issue that we're seeing, and there's been some quite big press around it, specifically in iGaming recently, is the cybersecurity threats. Is how people are securing that data, and I suppose the other area to it is The other pitfall, I would say, is around the quality of that data and the accuracy of that data, and what you're then doing with that data if that data is not accurate, it's not of a good quality. And then it's basically sort of around the integration challenges, the trust, and the perception of what you're doing with that data. These are just a number of pitfalls that people can fall into when it comes to data and harnessing the power of it. I think the key thing here is to make sure that organisations are working with solution providers that can help in all these different areas around securing it, making sure it's compliant, all that kind of stuff. But also, more importantly, or I say more importantly, it's probably just as important, is how you harness the benefits of the data that you're collating today in a safe and secure environment, and making sure that you benefit from the amount of data that you're capturing. And this is an area that Fujitsu can absolutely help.
And why are kind of complex multi-vendor IT setups so prominent across the iGaming industry? Are they necessary? Are they there for a reason?
So I wouldn't say they're exactly necessary. However, I think, as we all know, and it's probably where the questions come about, they already exist today. I think the challenge that a lot of organisations in the iGaming space have is to move away from those complexities. The majority of there's so much acquisitive activity that goes on in the iGaming space, and that's what sometimes causes this whole multi-vendor sort of environment where you'll have a company using one type of technology and another company using a different type of technology, and merging those two together. And also growth as well. There's a lot of the technology landscape moves so quickly that a lot of people are constantly evolving and looking at new technology setups, new vendors that they want to talk to. However, as an industry, I guess they need to, the way we look at it is making sure that they embrace and work with vendors and partners who can help manage these complex setups. Just as an example, for us as Fujitsu, right, although we are a large technology company and we have some really great data center solutions and products, we don't sit here and say we can do everything for you. It's about how we work with an ecosystem of partners and a number of technology providers that help us navigate the complexity of it. So it's not necessarily going, oh, right, we can do everything, but it's about navigating and bringing together those partners and other technology providers to help the industry as it is today.
And to help the industry as it is, what are the difficulties of devising an effective data architecture? So by that, I mean, what are the key factors for consideration when you're looking to select the right mix of infrastructure and cloud optimized services?
Yeah, so there's a handful of different things that we would advise customers to look at. So one of them is around growth. Do the demands of the business go up and down in terms of data access, the size or the amount of that data? So is there burst? Are you having periods of busy activity? Is there quiet activity? This could be around maybe sort of large sporting events, etc. I suppose the other one is around location of the data and the architecture, and does the data need to sit within certain locations or jurisdictions in order to meet regulatory requirements? And then sort of, I suppose the second part to where that data sits is latency, and how fast do the users in the iGaming space or the customers in the iGaming space need to access that data? So does it need to be quite close to where maybe the game's being played or whatever that might be, just to enable them to give a good customer experience so that the data's accessed quickly? The other element to it is security. Are companies comfortable placing all their company data and what ultimately is their IP into maybe one of the big hyperscalers today? or are you more comfortable keeping that data on premise and doing a bit of
Yeah.
both, having some technology that you own that sits in your own data center or maybe in a colo data center? And then the other part to it, which we see a lot of, is using the service provider space where people might want to build their own private cloud experience for themselves, so they know where the data is, they own the technology, or the service provider owns the technology. But again, it's just about there's lots of different ways to architect it, and it's about talking to the right organisations like ourselves to help design and walk through what's best for what the best setup is really to suit your needs.
And could you tell me just a bit more about PrimeFlex, which is Fujitsu's integrated system? Is this kind of your bread and butter and something that you deal with daily? And how has it been designed to make migrating, integrating, managing the hybrid cloud environment more efficient?
Yeah, so I suppose PrimeFlex is one part of our portfolio, which we tend to sort of, I guess, lead on when it comes to the iGaming space. And in sort of easy terms, and just to sort of cut it down, it's basically a pre-designed, pre-tested, and even in some cases installed system that is built around server storage and sometimes some networking, which gives customers the flexibility to work across sort of different cloud environments, but also it's running particular hypervisors that may be out there today that most customers use, whether that be VMware, Nutanix, or Microsoft. But these are pre-tested, pre-tried, pre-configured, ready to go systems that they can basically install on site pretty quickly. And then it also gives them a single support package globally. So rather than them having, if they've got a problem with the storage element or the network element or the software element, they have to go to lots of different people or different vendors, Fujitsu allows them to have a single point of contact to give them I suppose a single throat to choke, as it were, if something goes wrong. So they can just come and talk to us and we can help them out across the full technology stack.
Single throat to choke. I've not heard that one. I like it. What can having the right hybrid cloud infrastructure mean for expanding capabilities? So, be it personalization, game creation, market expansion. What does it bring to the table?
So I think that the biggest benefit that I see for it is probably around market expansion and growth. Demand and scalability is probably one of the biggest factors here. If a customer has a mix of on-premise infrastructure and off-premise infrastructure, having a hybrid cloud infrastructure allows them to scale up and down and into the cloud if needed for maybe short-term capacity. However, I guess the most important thing from our side of things, and what we tend to talk to a lot of customers about and starting to see a lot more growth in today, is people moving more to wanting that on-premise infrastructure, but utilise a commercial offering that allows them to consume that infrastructure that they own, but in a cloud-like way. So they're only paying for what they use. And what they don't, so when they're not using it, they turn it off, exactly how they work within a cloud environment today. That way, you're building your own hybrid cloud environment and consuming it in exactly the same way as you would as if it was an off-premise cloud environment.
And ESG, particularly the environmental side of ESG, is a key consideration for many companies at the moment. And data centers aren't exactly renowned for their sustainability. So how is Fujitsu helping companies to grow as ethically as possible?
Yeah, so it's a good point you picked up there on the data center bit. This is going to be a massive topic for everyone, I think, especially around AI and the amount of compute and storage and power that's consuming. I heard an interesting stat the other day that 14% of all electricity spent in Ireland is on data center power. And it's about there's going to be some sort of regulation put in place to manage this. And things around the other one that I thought was quite an interesting stat is especially in the UK. I don't know about globally, but there's been a big drive to move away from sort of plastic carrier bags and that kind of thing. And we had I saw something the other day that basically said that one email is about as impactful to the environment today as a single plastic carrier bag. Which is it's quite an interesting stat, really, when
Yeah.
you think about the amount of emails that we send every day. So, just some of the areas that we help with that. So we have a sustainability calculator. So we can go and talk to customers and talk them through what their infrastructure and technology looks like today, and what that would look like if they were to come and talk to Fujitsu, and how we can give them stats around how much CO2 they would be using if they were to upgrade some of their infrastructure. I've talked a little bit about Uscale, but also this does have a big ESG sustainability story, because ultimately you're only buying hardware and using hardware that you're using today. You're not buying tons of hardware that's just going to sit there sort of chugging away, as it were, that you're not actually utilizing, which allows you to go up and down. And then I suppose in the background of what Fujitsu do today, for instance, we've just got an EP silver certification on our leading servers, and which is basically from the GEC, which basically tells you how sustainable these products are and the material that we use in building these platforms. And I think we're only one of two companies that's got that in the world today from a server perspective. So it's a key fundamental part of Fujitsu, to be fair. I think I've been in the business for about 13 years, and I remember we were talking about green and efficient servers when I first joined back then, and that was before it was such a key point and as that continues to grow today.
That would be an apt way to round out the conversation, but I just really wanted to shoehorn in this last one about Fujitsu's co-creation metaverse CX lab. It kind of isn't relevant to anything else we've discussed, really, but it's fascinating. So if you could just tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so I suppose it kind of is relevant to everything we talked about, because it's a sort of it's basically a new type of environment that's a virtual engagement system. And it allows us to work with customers in a metaverse type environment to help them with digital transformation projects, and all of the bits that sort of I suppose we spoke through at the start of this conversation is around digital transformation and technology, and how Fujitsu help with that. So it's a metaverse platform that we can invite customers to. It's an engagement model around a number of key themes, whether that be hybrid cloud, whether that be SAP, or just a sort of data-driven transformation conversation. And it's a journey we take people on, and it's helped them understand their requirements right from the outset, and then allow us to design and work with them to help design something that's suited to their business needs. It is a fun way of doing it, but it's a different way of doing it than maybe sitting on a Teams call, as it were.
Yeah, very true. Well, thank you very much, Nick. Really appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to chatting to you in February. You said just before we started this podcast about so you've not got a stand, but you'll be available.
Yeah, so So if anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn. I'll be at ICE for the 3 days, so by all means, drop me a message, and happy to meet up and discuss any of the points any further, or whatever they want to do. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Cheers, Nick.
Thanks, Will. Cheers.
I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you want to watch more, why not subscribe to our channel somewhere here.